Hi. Today we're going to talk about something that really is important for basic pedagogy. And it kind of reminds me of a mechanic that I used to know. I used to take my auto to him all the time. He had been a mechanic for about 50 years and knew everything about cars. And what always amazed me was that someone could drive in with their car and he could immediately listen to it. And by the time they got out of their car, he's telling them what's wrong with it and what it needs to have done. And he was right every time. Sometimes you'd say, well, it could be two or three things, but I suspect it's such and such, and he'd usually be right the first time. And I guess after being a mechanic for 50 years or so, you just learn by sounds and so forth. He could even smell the exhaust and say, oh, it's running too lean. We need to change the timing. It singes the nose. And so trumpet teaching is kind of the same way. If you work with students long enough, after a while you get to where you hear the sound and you can pretty much tell if they're doing things correctly or not. And I'd like to discuss today what I call the 4 P's. The 4 P's are pucker, placement of the tongue, pressure of the mouthpiece against the lips, and push of the air. So those 4 P's, I'll take them one at a time. Pucker, of course, is one that we talk about the most. And I recently did a video about lip bends and also one on pedal tones. And I like those exercises because they teach you the proper way for you to pucker. And each person may be a little bit different. But what I find is if you are puckering both lips, top and bottom, you'll get a very pinched sound. And the pinched tone has a very distinct color to it. And so when you learn to play correctly by practicing the loud lip bends and pedal tones, you'll learn that the bottom lip should become very firm and the muscles coming straight down are very firm, as though you're doing a frown, but you don't pull the corners out of place. This keeps the corners very firm, but we're not trying to tighten the corners, which can pinch the top lip. We want to keep the top lip loose, firm this, and firm as though you're frowning. These big muscles coming straight down. This puckers a lot here, and that's how you should correctly pucker. The next thing is pressure of the mouthpiece, and I know everybody thinks that we should not use any pressure, and I agree that we shouldn't use any more than is necessary. But even the greatest of players, the best high note players in the world, use a lot of pressure. And there's nothing wrong with pressure in itself as long as you're puckered with the lower lip and the majority of the pressure is going into the lower lip. Because once you get a majority going into the top lip, you're dampening the vibration, you're totally killing the sound, and as you go higher, it just stops the vibration because the top lip is the lip that vibrates most. In fact, they've done studies with fiber optic cameras going up the lead pipe and looking at the actual vibration of the lips. And in the low register, you see both lips moving like this. But in the middle register and upper register, it looks more like this, where only the top lip is visibly vibrating. So we want to keep the pressure off the top lip as much as we can. It's got to go somewhere. Put it into the lower lip. Pucker, press on that all you want. As long as the top lip is not being mashed too much, the tone will be nice and vibrant. Now, placement of the tongue. This is a very complex thing, but how we manipulate the arch of the tongue and placement really affects the sound. The smaller the oral cavity, in other words, if you arch your tongue like an E syllable, you're making a smaller oral cavity, which creates a less resonance. And we need to play with a smaller oral cavity when we play high. But there are a lot of tricks to how to do tongue placement properly. And my advice is that if you want a classical sound, when you play in the lower register and the middle register and even quite a bit of your high register, you want to keep the front of the tongue as low as you can. It should feel as though it's in the pit of your chin. So if you just sing in an opera style, ah, you get the front of your tongue is probably lying very low, not anywhere near your teeth. So when you tongue a note, you articulate and let it fall. Da, da, and it's real low. The back is going to go up and down, and we don't feel the back very well, so there's not much you can do to control it. Let it do what feels natural as you change lip slurs or change registers. The back is going to automatically arch with training. The front should always stay down, and as you go higher, if you start with a low position in front, the back cannot go too high, because if the front is too high to start with, like say even with your teeth, the back will go up too high and you get a choking. And that choking is caused because the back of the tongue arches enough that it kind of triggers your gag reflex, and you'll get a and it just sort of stops the air. The larynx closes. It's your own safeguard so you don't inhale your food. And so you're going to get that gag reflex, the larynx will close, and you're done. Very little air is getting to the lip, and I don't care how good your embouchure is, it's not going to vibrate. So keep the front as low as possible, let the back do it at once. And I find that for most players with a really low front tongue, they can arch enough in the back to get up to maybe high E, F, even G above high C. Now if you want to go higher than that, then you have to bring the front up. But what I suggest is that if my fingers are the lower teeth, you bring it up and kind of flatten the tongue against the back of the lower teeth, and you push against the teeth. And what happens is the back of the tongue will want to come down so it can push. It can't push very well if it's arched, so it wants to come down, and you get a good push that way, and that opens up the airstream so even though the front is high, the back is down, and plenty of air will get through there. And that's what I call the tongue curl, where the tongue kind of pushes against the back of the teeth. So if we were to go from, say, a pedal C to a double high C, and we took pictures of the tongue every arpeggio or harmonic as we do a lip slur, you would see something that looks kind of like an ocean wave coming into shore. The back goes up, and then it changes like that. The wave crests, and you get this whoosh, whoosh, you can really get some good strong air compression, and that compression, which is part of the push, which is our next thing, the push is the how hard you push from the gut, and the more resistance you create, especially with the tongue arch in the front, tongue curl, you'll find that you need to push pretty hard. We want to do it from the abdominal area, not from up here. You never want to bring your arms in and squeeze. You don't want to raise the shoulders and let the neck area get tight. Everything from the bottom of your rib cage up should be as relaxed as possible as far as the body is concerned and the neck. But the abdominal area will feel like you're doing a sit-up, kind of a half incline crunch sit-up. And so you get really strong compression that way, and the compression speeds up the air, which creates a more frequent lip vibration. The higher the frequency, the higher the pitch. So these are the 4 P's, and they all need to be regulated together. Just like that auto mechanic, he could hear that something was wrong, and he could adjust the carburetor or adjust the air intake. He maybe put bigger jets so it has more gas flow. But if you put bigger jets in, well, you need more air, so he had to compensate. And it doesn't work in a way that a lot of people think, that if I give it more air, I don't have to be as firm. And it's actually the opposite. If you increase one of the 4 P's, you have to increase them all. They all work together. You can't compensate by, I'll blow harder and then I can relax more here. The harder you blow, obviously this has to be firmer, or you just kind of blow it open too easily. So it all works together, and this has been proven by a number of scientific exams and different tests. So anyways, I recommend the lip bends and then the pedal tones played correctly, and watch those videos to see how they're done. And this will get your embouchure working very well. Thank you.